Have you watched this film before?
Yes, ma'am, I feel like I remember the name of this film. I feel like I have seen it in some class.
Uh, all right. So you think that it has been discussed in one of the classes?
Yes, and actually in a TFT elective that I took
And how long ago was that?
in my second year. So I think it's been 2 years. Yeah, we actually did a live screening as well in the auditorium. I don't know if I'm talking about the same film. It's based on before the partition of India and Pakistan. Is it around
No,
that time?
no. It's not. It's an Oscar-winning film.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yes.
I think I'm talking about the one which Shabana Azmi is in, and
No.
that's
This
like
is not a Shabana Azmi film. This is a
okay.
this is considered a Pakistani film by director is Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, I've heard of this. Maybe it's because I've heard of the name of, so many times. Yeah, because of the Oscars. Yes.
Okay. If you haven't seen it before, I think I would quickly play a few minutes of the film. So before we start discussing, I did ask to read the article and to watch the film before the class, so it will make it easier for us to discuss what the film says and what the article says. We were just trying to compare, we will try to compare a theory by Maslow. You may have heard of the theory. Are you familiar with Maslow's name?
Yes, yes.
Did you study about him in school or later?
जी मैं साइकोलॉजी में मैंने पढ़ा था मास्लो की हायरार्की जो उसकी
Okay.
थियरी थी.
Hierarchy of needs. So I said in the last class, before we ended last class, I did say that we will try to see if the theory applies to the situations within this film, right? So we would try to apply this theory to the film. Let's quickly play part of it because it seems nobody has watched the film. It would be difficult to play the whole film during the class because it will take about 40 minutes, which means that we will lose 40 minutes of discussion. So let me start playing it now, and there is a possibility that I would stop in the middle or after a few minutes to start discussing some of the ideas. So do you remember what Maslow had discussed in his theory? Do you remember anything from what you studied in the psychology class?
Yes, miss. So I think so I studied this I think around like I think 3 years ago. तो मुझे इतना क्लियरली याद नहीं है लेकिन उसने एक लाइक लेवल्स बनाए हुए थे कि जो ह्यूमन नीड्स होती हैं और बेसिकली विच नीड्स कम फर्स्ट एंड वो उसने डिवीजन की हुई थी बेसिकली बेसिक नीड्स और साइकोलॉजिकल नीड्स और फिर आई थिंक सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन सेल्फ फुलफिलमेंट नीड्स थी. तो उसने बेसिकली हायरार्की बनाई हुई थी कि बेसिक नीड्स क्या होती हैं और फिर उसके बाद कैसे नीड्स डेवलप होती हैं इंसान में.
Okay. All right, good. I think at least you remember the basic concept that he was talking about hierarchy of human needs. And
Yes.
okay, so let me play the film first. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
सबा का जो फायर लेफ्ट साइड पे फेस पे लगा था उसकी वजह से तो उसकी कोई शक्ल पहचानी नहीं जा रही थी कि उसकी असल में फेस क्या है। सारा एक गैपिंग वूंड था, सारा जख्म खुला हुआ था, आंख से लेके और लिप्स थी, अपर लिप जो है वो भी इन्वॉल्व था।
अभी देखो ना कि ये वाकया किया है कि सब बहन भाई जितने भी हैं वो बोलते हैं कि आप गैरतमंद हैं, आप इज्जतमंद हैं। भाई आप ठीक हैं, जो भी किया है आपने ठीक किया है, बेहतर किया है। अपना इराकनी हमारे पीछे भी बेटी थी ना, अभी 3-4 रिश्ते आए हैं। बरादरी ने बोला है अपना इराकनी कि ये बेटी मुझे दो, ये बेटी मुझे दो, ये बेटी मुझे दो, आप अच्छे आदमी हैं, आप गैरतमंद हैं। 7 नस्ल तक और हमारी कोई ऐसी बेटी ऐसा कदम नहीं उठाएंगी इंशाल्लाह, ये मुझे फक्र है।
जब इतने बड़े ना होते, इतना दबाव ना आता, फिर मैं इनको कब माफ करने वाली थी, नहीं थी माफ, मैंने करना ही नहीं था। मैंने कहा जितनी देर अंदर रहे, मैंने माफ नहीं था करना।
So, any reactions to what we just watched?
It made me angry, ma'am.
What exactly?
The ending, the what her father said, and how he takes pride in what he did, and it's because of our law system that he can say that. I mean, if our justice system was not like this and they didn't bow down to the societal pressures, I mean, he wouldn't have said that. He would have been ashamed of what he did because he would be punished by it. लेकिन वो तो इतने मतलब end में he still thinks
Hold
he
on a
was
minute. Hold on a minute, please. जी नौरीन, मेरी क्लास हो रही है। सॉरी, यूनिवर्सिटी से कॉल आ रही थी, एग्जाम डिपार्टमेंट से। आई कॉल देम लेटर। जी इकरा, सो यू वर सेइंग कि यू आर अनहैप्पी विद द एंडिंग because you think that society pressurized the father to pressurize the daughter to forgive the father.
Yeah, I mean, and plus the fact that everyone around, like the father was so, like, and it's not just her father, it's the fact that people around him made him feel like he should be honored for what he did. Like उसके घर पे जैसे रिश्ते आ रहे हैं and उसकी community वाले उसको बोल रहे हैं कि आप एक honorable man है. Like the fact that they've set the standard for an honorable man in this particular way makes it so miserable. Like it's a brutal reality, of course, but it's still painful to watch. It made me really angry.
Okay, all right. Ji Komal.
Ma'am, I was just going to say that as much as I am disgusted by this video, I wanted to point out थोड़ा सा immature point है शायद, लेकिन ये जो बच्ची है, she is summarizing every moment जो उसके साथ गुजरा है, या फिर इस वीडियो का जिस्ट जो है वो उसकी लास्ट डायलॉग में है, when she says कि जो जिसका दिल चाहता है वो करे। अपनी बेटी के लिए जब वो बोल रही है कि बेटी पैदा हो तो वो क्या हो, तो आई थिंक आई जस्ट लव्ड हाउ शी सेड इट। और यही मुझे लगता है कि इंसान की या फिर जानवर की भी यही ख्वाहिश होती है कि बस दिल की बात वो कर सके, जो दिल चाहता है वो कर सके। और यही चीज सोसाइटी नहीं समझती, माँ बाप नहीं समझते। Because I belong to a Sayyid family and I know the pressure of ज़ात पात और ये सारा कि आप अपने कास्ट में रहेंगे और उससे बाहर आप नहीं जा सकते। ये बचपन से ही कितना टेरराइजिंग होता है। I just know it. I can relate to the woman.
Yeah, even like
मैंने
little
कभी
kids
सुना
are
नहीं है।
told बचपन से that
जी।
you have to, if you're a girl especially, मर्दों को तो फिर इजाजत
But
होती है।
Sabah was engaged to kiss her, so it was not the difference between their, you know, like she was engaged for 4 years. She says that, so it means के जात पात का issue नहीं था ना. They were not talking about.
Yeah, but of course क्यों मारते हैं, इज्जत कब आती है, बेटी भाग जाती है, तो उसमें ये फैक्टर भी तो है। वो नहीं बात कर रही है, लेकिन हमारे सोसाइटी में अगर बात करें तो ज्यादातर यही इशू रहता है ना कि हमारा कास्ट नहीं मिलता। तो उस सेंस से मैं बात कर रही हूँ कि हमारे इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में क्या क्या होता है. That's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I hope that you guys made some notes or noted some of the dialogues while watching this documentary. And while we read this article, Hierarchy of Needs, we can relate to what we have watched in the film. We can try relating those concepts with what Maslow is saying in terms of hierarchy of needs. So I just want us to use this theory to discuss the situation within the film. Anyone else? One or two more comments and then we start going through the article.
Yes, Miss. I just want to add to what Ikra and Komal said. So, Miss, it was kind of concerning and mind blowing, kind of, how cemented their thought processes were in Mardon ke this is what should happen to women who, who run away from their houses. Yeah, they do anything that goes against their values. So, and the fact that they think it they have the right to decide for other women, or decide to chodo, to just kill other women and hurt women in their lives, and they have no remorse. And we talk about restorative justice, जिसमें हम basically क्या करते हैं, there's rehabilitation of offenders वगैरह के उनको basically रियलाइज करवाया जाए, उनको बेहतर किया जाए. तो इस तरह की जो डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज वगैरह होती हैं, they just make me think कि to some extent कुछ offenders होते हैं जिनके लिए there's just punishment and you can't really teach them what they have been taught, मतलब something else. मतलब बचपन से उनको ये बताया जा रहा है, वो इस तरह ये पूरा जो एरिया है उसमें इस तरह ही वो कंडीशनड हो जाते हैं कि औरतों का ऊपर उनका हक है. तो इतने बड़ी उम्र में बाद जाके उनको कुछ और किस्सा सिखाया जा सकता है. एंड इट वाज एक्चुअली सरप्राइजिंग एज वेल कि उस एरिया में कुछ लोग थे जिनको एक्चुअली में लगता है कि who think otherwise and who are mature about this, like not even mature, they're aware that what happened to Sabah was wrong. So that was surprising, and it was matlab thoda sa gave hope, but otherwise it was just really concerning how these men think. And that's just very dangerous because most of the men in Pakistan maybe think that way. And I think that's something that our government, our leaders should definitely consider, because it's just very dangerous and it takes lives of so many women. And the fact कि यहाँ पे जो औरतें हैं इतनी they're not safe, so it's their responsibility to take care of that.
Okay, so who in the film pointed out to the same, thing that you have just discussed? Somebody in the film pointed out this problem.
And what problem? What did
The
you say?
problem that Noor just discussed. I'm
Yeah.
saying somebody in the film pointed to that problem. So I was asking that if you noticed who in the film pointed to this problem about, like patriarchy and male demanding their right over women's body and mobility, etc. Ji?
The lawyer did. The lawyer.
Yes, the lawyer did slightly.
Yes. So yeah, that's why
prosecutor
Gigi. So it's extremely important to remember, and to mention that the public prosecutor or the lawyer, the original lawyer, did point out that it reinforces patriarchal culture. And she does mention that the lawyer was changed on the last day, because I don't know why the film doesn't comment on it, but maybe society felt that original lawyer will perhaps not suggest to Sabah to forgive her father and uncle.
Yeah.
And the lawyer that was appointed by the community was more in support of the father and uncle.
Hmm.
जी, any
मैम
other?
हमारे यहाँ नेचुरली
जी जी
चलता ही
जी।
ऐसा है कि जब तक कोई मतलब कोई क्राइम जब हो जाता है ना, उसके बाद पहले तो सारी सोसाइटी उसके साथ होती है जिसके साथ जुल्म हुआ होता है। जब वो उसका केस या एफआईआर दर्ज हो जाती है तो फिर सारे जो है ना वो दूसरी तरफ चले जाते हैं।
Jahangir, what you are showing is what you are saying may be correct, but did you see that in the film? जो आपने कहा ना कि
यस
पहले
मैम,
तो
पहले उन्होंने जी वो उन्होंने पहले देखे ना सारी एफआईआर दर्ज हो गई है, सारा कुछ हो गया है, तो उसके बाद फिर सारे मिलके सोसाइटी भी साथ, उसके घर वाले रिश्तेदार
हाँ,
मिलके
वो
सारे
उसको
सोसाइटी
प्रेशराइज
चले
कर
गए।
रहे हैं, लेकिन आपने
हाँ।
कहा कि जब जुल्म होता है तो सोसाइटी सपोर्ट्स द विक्टिम, बाद में वो अपनी ओपिनियन चेंज कर लेती है। तो मैं आपसे वैसे पूछ रही थी कि डिड द फिल्म शो दैट सोसाइटी वाज
अब इसमें
ओरिजिनली
इतना तो नहीं था,
सपोर्टिंग?
लेकिन इसमें ये था ना कि वो जिन्होंने जुल्म किया था वो अपने उस जो मतलब स्टार्स उसी पे अड़े हुए थे ना कि हमें इतनी देर भी जेल में रहना पड़ा, सारी जिंदगी भी रहना पड़ा तो हम रहेंगे, लेकिन ऐसा होता नहीं। वो जेल जो है ना वो देखा ना थोड़े दिनों में फिर उनकी जरा तबीयत होश ठिकाने आने लग गए। फिर उन्होंने मतलब सारी जो कम्युनिटी है उनसे भी जो भी है कोई राब्ता किया, तो फिर सारे उनके साथ स्टैंड ले लिया। बस वो मसला ऐसा था कि उसमें हमारी सोसाइटी में सारे जो है वो लड़की का फॉल्ट समझते हैं या इस तरह का मतलब तो माइंड सेट है, तो फिर
Okay,
सारे उन्हीं की
so
तरफ
so as such, the film did not show that anyone in society was supporting Sabha at all, right? So
यस मैम।
आपका otherwise तो you are definitely right that society was pressurizing Sabha. Society forced Sabha in one way or the other to forgive her father. And she clearly says that she wouldn't have forgiven them if it was not for the pressure of the society. Okay, let's see what.
Another thing I noticed was how the men in the family, like how they were using religion for their convenience. Like जब वो interview करे थे when they're behind the bars, she says कि कुरान में तो औरत को बाहर निकलने की भी इजाज़त नहीं है. And he says this when Sharmeen Ubaid says कि कुरान में कत्ल का कहाँ लिखा हुआ है. To reply to this, he says कुरान में औरत को तो बाहर निकलने की भी इजाज़त नहीं है. Like it's how they ignore everything else in the Quran and only focus on the stuff that's convenient for them and that gives them pleasure over their patriarchy and over their authority.
All right. So Quran actually has something जिसको I think Surah Nisa कहते हैं, and Nisa actually mean women. So this
Yeah.
man, you are absolutely right that he's ignoring everything that Quran says, and all he remembers is his own right or his own interest. Yeah, so he's primarily talking about protection of his own right and interest. Okay. All right, so let's see what Maslow says about hierarchy of needs. And while or during reading this, we keep discussing different parts of the films or different sequences or scenes from the films. And I think it would be very useful to refer to scenes or dialogues from the film while reading this article. Okay, so one thing you may have noticed, if this article actually says that there were two forces before Maslow developed this particular theory. One was that most theories, for example, Charles Darwin emphasized on survival of the fittest. Okay, so and Charles Darwin believed that people have destructive tendencies. And we can see that the father in this film had very clearly destructive tendencies, and between Sabah and her father, probably the father was the fittest and he tried killing the daughter. So I'm just saying that just try creating a connection between what we read here and what we just watched in the film. Okay, so it just says that this survival of the fittest actually emphasizes, this theory emphasizes on the dark side of the human psyche. The study of crippled, stunted, immature, and unhealthy specimen can yield only a crippled psychology and a crippled philosophy. So apparently, the film is pointing to the crippled psychology, unhealthy specimen, or unhealthy human beings. Uh, force their own laws or rules on a woman in this film, which happens to be her own daughter. The other theory that he mentions here is by B.F. Skinner, and he says that as opposed to Darwin, who was talking about survival of the fittest, Skinner actually studied behavior of, for example, guinea pigs. And he noted that guinea pigs do different things in response to their desire for hunger, desire for food. So he says hunger, thirst, sex, and avoidance of pain are most important. These four elements help guinea pigs decide what they need. And he's talking about hierarchy of needs of guinea pigs, while Darwin is talking about hierarchy of needs of the, he's not talking about hierarchy of needs, he's only talking about survival of the fittest. Okay, so in terms of, so basically, after mentioning these two theories, one by Charles Darwin that he believes Freud also supports, and the second by B.F. Skinner, where he talks about hunger, thirst, sex, and avoidance of pain are the most important things in people's life. The author is M. Griffin, and M. Griffin is putting together what Maslow said about hierarchy of human needs. And I showed this diagram at the start of this session today. And if you look at this diagram, this is pointing to 5 different needs, which are physiological, safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. We can see that physiological needs are at the bottom of this pyramid. And after physiological, we find other needs, which, and from those at the bottom of the pyramid, we gradually move on to top of the pyramid. Okay. So for developing this theory, Maslow actually studied not animals to talk about survival of the fittest, or not guinea pigs to talk about their hunger, thirst, sex, and pain, avoidance of pain needs. He studied best of the best humans, right? So he made a list of people, and he thought that these are the finest of specimen, finest of human beings. And he studied the lives of these finest human beings, and he has given a short list of their names here. He has not named all of them here, but he named, for example, Abraham Lincoln, Albert Einstein, Jane Addams, Eleanor Roosevelt, Frederick Douglass, Martin Buber, and Albert Schweitzer, and a few dozen other. He said that he studied these people who he believed were the finest specimen of human race. And after studying these people, he developed this theory of hierarchy of needs, and he does feel that these people reached this top on the pyramid here. All of these people had actually self-actualized whatever they wanted in their lives. So they had self-actualization was experience in terms of morality, creativity, spontaneity, and problem solving for others, and lack of prejudice for others, and acceptance of facts. So he believes that these people who I just mentioned were the finest of the human beings, and how they reached this status was after getting over all the needs that are underneath self-actualization in this pyramid. Okay, so he thinks that the first one, the first force, which is survival of the fittest, is actually very negative. And the second leaves some hopes when behaviorists like Skinner's talk about hunger, thirst, sex, or avoidance of pain desires among guinea pigs. He thinks that why don't these scientists study monkeys who behave better than any of these animals or guinea pigs, because monkeys are playful. And then he decided that he would look at lives of these few different people who he believes are the best, and thus he comes up with this theory of hierarchy of needs, which he believes is the third force and perhaps better than the other two. Maslow believes that humans are not destructive by nature. He thinks that if these four needs, which are at the bottom of, which are under self-actualization, if these four needs are fulfilled, humans will not be destructive. So, do you think that any of these theories can be applied to what we just watched in this film? In terms of three forces that these three different people are talking about. One is talking about Darwin's and Freudian concept of destructive human behavior. Other is about selectivity and a bit better behavior in terms of behaviorists theories about human attitudes or practices. And do you think that any of which one of these three you think is suitable for discussing what happened in the film? Any comments on which one of the three theories is more suitable for discussing what Saba's father did or Saba did? If we talk about survival of the fittest, or if we talk about what behaviorists say. Any comment? If not, we can certainly continue discussing, and we can still see, because here the third one is actually showing the optimistic behavior, which means that denial of human freedom and dignity, because he thinks that humans actually better, and if the needs are fulfilled, then they would be the best of their kind in many cases. Maslow actually believed that humans are not deceitful or violent, right? So he thought that lying, cheating, stealing, and murder are not what he thought human nature was meant to be. He thinks that real human nature is better than just lying or cheating behavior of a few under the impact of deficiency. M. Griffin is actually quoting a dialogue from one of the from another Oscar-winning film of 1962, West Side Story, is a very famous film. And in this film, there is one character who says, "I am depraved on account of I am deprived," which means that because he does not have certain things in his life, so deprivation results in that has an impact on his behavior or crime, right? So if you look at meaning of depraved, it says morally corrupt or wicked. So this character from the West Side Story actually says that he is morally corrupt or wicked because he is deprived of a few things. Okay. Maslow says that there are 4 types of needs that should be satisfied before people can work unselfishly. And as I mentioned, that those 4 types of need are mentioned under self-actualization here, or in this diagram, which is I think slightly better because it's showing different needs pictorially, and I think it's a better illustration to mention these things. on the left hand side, you see a bar that says deficiency needs and being needs. So the first needs are actually about deficiencies. And if he says that if these 4 needs are fulfilled, people actually get over everything, and they then go for such goals that are more human, or that are the goals of being. Okay, so beings can reach this level of understanding, meaning, beauty, knowledge, peace, and self fulfillment, desire for self fulfillment, once all these needs at the bottom are fulfilled. uh, he says that these 4 needs which are at the bottom or underneath self actualization are deficiency needs, and people instinctively try to satisfy those needs before they go for satisfying any other need. He says that Maslow thinks that instinct is not a good word, so he replaces instinct with instinctitoid. Okay, so he thinks that it should be a bit soft, uh, and it would be better to discuss these things accordingly. And he says that insectoid means that these needs are universal urges and not created by culture, as the behaviorist would claim. Uh, you can meet your need to belonging by going to a party where you can meet your friends, or you can talk to your roommate or a friend or anyone, right? So he just says that gratification of one need actually leads uh, to the desire for the next one. He Maslow also says that lower needs are actually prepotent needs. You know, so if somebody does not have food, so his utmost desire would be, or his prepotent need would be physiological, which means that uh, he would need air for breathing, food for eating, he would need water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion, etc. So basic physiological needs are the first needs that anybody would need. And after those needs are fulfilled, which means that if a prepotent physiological need is fulfilled, you can talk about the next prepotent need, which is safety. And after that need is fulfilled, you might be motivated by a craving for love. So for a craving for love, it is important that the physiological and safety needs are fulfilled. And when need for love or belonging is fulfilled, you can desire self-esteem, right? So Maslow is emphasizing on a prepotent need that he believes is the lowest unmet need in the pyramid, and until one need is fulfilled, the lowest need in the life of a person is fulfilled, the person cannot talk about the next one. So this theory is more individual focused, and it's not focusing on collective needs of a society, because what the film showed was a collective need for even patriarchy or people around Sabah Castle, who were talking about, like what Sabah should do, and she should forgive. And they had an argument with the lawyer saying that it's important to maintain your respect in the eyes of society, because otherwise it will be difficult for you to survive, okay, in that society. So that's why I'm just saying that just keep thinking about the prepotent need of Sabah Kaisar, and what was the prepotent need of her father. So because between we are seeing a clash between prepotent needs of the father and the daughter. Uh, it says that physical drives take priority in Maslow's system. Almost all the motivational theorists regard the need for food and other physiological necessities as powerful and primary urges. Was there anything in the film that was pointing to the physiological needs or need for food and other physiological necessities? Something that any of the characters in the film emphasized as powerful or primary urge, and he felt that he had provided for it or he had fulfilled that need of the other character? Do you think that these
मैम वो
physiological
दर्द हो रही है।
चाचू ने कहा था कि मेरे ख्याल से मतलब कीड़े को भी रिस्क तो मिल जाता है, हम यहाँ पे बैठे भी रहे तो उसकी परवाह नहीं है, बच्चों को खाना मिलता ही रहेगा।
Okay, so you are saying that Sabha Kaisar's Chachu was actually emphasizing on physiological needs, right? Jahangir?
Ma'am, I think. Sorry.
मैम
जी
उसने
जी
बात की थी इस तरह की, वो मैंने आपको बताई।
Okay, definitely they did mention, because her father also said कि सबा भूखी नहीं थी क्या, उसको 3 वक्त की रोटी नहीं मिल रही थी. There was a dialogue in the film that where father emphasizes on Saba's physiological needs, right? And father does say कि वो भूखी थोड़ी मर रही थी क्या, उसके पास चारपाई नहीं थी क्या, उसके पास खाने पीने की चीजें नहीं थी. Right, so Saba's father is emphasizing on physiological needs and being a provider. He is demanding that Sabha should have remembered that he was fulfilling her physiological needs. So he is demanding reciprocation of what he was providing to her as the father. So I believe that this comment actually came at very start of the film, at probably 8 or 9 minutes, where father did mention that he was providing everything to her and all her physiological needs were met. So he is emphasizing on needs for food and other physical necessities as powerful and primary urges. So we can clearly see that when Saba's father claims that भूखी नहीं मिल रही थी क्या, उसको 3 वक्त का खाना नहीं मिल रहा था, और क्या उसके पास और चीजें नहीं थी. So father is only talking about her physiological need, which is at the bottom of this chart of hierarchy of needs of any individual, right? These basic wants are usually well satisfied, and the father is definitely claiming that Saba's basic needs or physiological needs were well satisfied by him in this case. Okay, he says that Maslow says that at another need emerges, and these matter rather the physiological hunger dominates the organism, and when these in turn are satisfied, again new prepotent needs emerge, which means that after you fulfill physiological needs, the next need is safety. And we can clearly say that in Sabha probably had, Sabha's father was providing her. He was fulfilling these two needs at the bottom of the pyramid. He was responsible for fulfilling her physiological or safety needs. And because these two needs were fulfilled, Sabha was definitely having the need for the third one. She wanted love and belonging apart from the family members. She was engaged to Kaisar, and she was in this relationship with him for about 4 years before the family or the Chacha instigated, and family felt that her engagement with Kaisar should be broken and Sabha should get engaged with Chacha's brother-in-law. So in this case, we can see that Sabha probably had not raised to this level of self-esteem until the time she was attacked. Until the time she was attacked, and because she was at this third one, we can also see that when it had a clash with what community or society wanted, her safety needs re-emerged, because after this problem, her safety was quite complicated, and we can see that till the end of the film, this threat that the family or the father or uncle can try taking away her life again is quite clear, right? So film keeps on saying that they can try taking her life again if they are set free from the jail. And we do see that despite this continuous threat to Saba's safety, father and uncle are actually freed from jail under societal pressure. So, which one is the deficiency need of Saba's father? If you look at this chart, which one do you think is the deficiency need of the father? Any idea? We still have to read details of all of these needs, but I was just asking, which one do you think is the prepotent need of the father? Saba's prepotent need at this point in time is safety. I think that love and belonging is less important at this stage than this need for safety, because master ji, Hanji, which one is the need of the father?
Ma'am, can we say esteem?
Esteem, ma'am. It's self-esteem, I guess.
Right. So it does. There is a possibility that self-esteem is father's prepotent need in this case, because for various reasons. Because it says self-esteem. It's like it's an achievement, respect of others, respect by others. So if he has achieved a certain status in life, he just wants that his respect should be maintained in society. So father is more worried about his need for self-esteem, while Saba is like Saba's second and third needs have become complicated. So the second perhaps has become more important than the third one at this stage. Okay, let's see. So he says that physiological needs are basic. The body craves for food, liquid, sleep, oxygen, and freedom of movement, and a moderate temperature. So if we think about various things or various comments that you gave after watching the film, we can see that in Saba's case, freedom of movement is perhaps still compromised, right? So here he has emphasized freedom of movement as a physiological need. But I do think that that Saba has this problem with after this situation, probably her lowest need is quite compromised, and perhaps in Pakistan, this freedom of movement is often compromised in case of women, or in cultures of subcontinent. You can say that in many cases, women may not have this freedom of movement. It says that distressing tension of hunger, thirst, fatigue, sexual frustration, confinement, or discomfort can irritate someone, and to the extent that that people would need a system in balance or at rest. So they would require homeostasis. They would want to return to the balance in terms of their physiological condition, right? He says that when bodies feel substantially deprived, it marshals all its energy in the service of satisfying these demands, which is a demand for food or even body movement, etc. So that becomes prepotent need, and perhaps a person or an individual would put together all his energies to satisfy this need. Okay, so perhaps if we apply this situation to the time when Saba's engagement was broken with Kaisar, and she says that she called Kaisar, she informed him that her family was talking about engaging her to brother-in-law of her uncle. We can see that Saba was in a situation when this this need for homeostasis was quite disturbed, right? So she wanted to return to this condition, and that is the point when she calls her fiance that looked like an ex-fiance at that stage, and she made a plan with him to run away. And she says that she ran away at 5 in the morning, and by 9 a.m. they were at the court asking for the issuance of a marriage certificate. So you can understand that these actions that Saba took, like by running away from home, meeting Kaisar and going to court for nikah or marriage by 9 a.m. that morning. So these probably happened because she was deprived, right? She was substantially deprived, and she wanted to satisfy her need, her prepotent need of love and belonging at this stage. So basically, if you apply this need for homeostasis, you can say that Saba actually was seeking this relationship, and it was essential for him, and that is what she tried at this stage. It says that as long as the body feels substantially deprived, it marshals its energies in the service of satisfying these demands, responding like a heat-seeking missile. A dog or cat invariably finds the one patch of sunlight that provides a warm place to doze. So basically, though this particular one, dozing, is not relevant to Saba, because but definitely other part of physiological need descriptions do apply to her, because she is talking about homeostasis, her need for homeostasis. Okay, so all it says, when we have had enough to eat, that these needs for food or sleep becomes unimportant, and need for another of the physiological needs emerges, or when all physiological needs are fulfilled, the security need kicks in. The safety need, he says, is mainly on a physiological level again. Naturally, we try to avoid a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. So, but once we have managed a certain level of physiological comfort, we'll seek to establish stability and consistency in a chaotic world. Security, the child who strives for predictability and certainty. So security is something that that anybody and every of any age would need at any time. And we may have noticed that if when families are out and children cannot sleep on their routine bedtime, they get very, very distressed, and parents try to comfort them, right, in various ways. So this is also means that it means that a very small child and an infant can feel that he is not at home, and he desires to have his routine followed, and that is why it says that it can give an infant a sense of insecure situation. uh, so the next is like the safety needs should be fulfilled after the physiological needs, and safety need can be disturbed at very basic level for the infant if the infant is away from home and can't even sleep at his normal bedtime. All right. So I was just talking about these physiological and safety needs that individuals like to follow before uh, following any other needs, right? So all Maslow is saying that this is the order of fulfilling prepotent needs of individual. He says the love or belonging needs come into play after physiological and security needs are satisfied. So gratification is a matter of degree than an either or accomplishment, right? So he's not saying that the gratification. He just says gratification is important. He doesn't say that these are physiological needs are accomplishments. Uh, Once a need has been significantly satisfied over a long period of time, it becomes absent. So the action switches to the next highest level. Do you agree with this point that once one need is satisfied, it becomes absent or it becomes less important in one's life? Do you think that physiological needs become absent once they are met and safety needs becomes important? Because Maslow is saying that once one need is met, uh, it's become unimportant. It becomes absent in the list of prepotent of a person. So, do you agree with what he's saying at this point, that a prepotent need that is satisfied disappears? Do you agree that physiological needs disappear when safety is the prepotent need of a person?
And no, I'm
Oh, you
sorry.
can say first. No, you
No,
can.
it's okay.
Gigi Kanza?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I feel like maybe it's equally important. It's just not a priority because it's not like they're met every single day. Sometimes you don't need those needs of any situation, so it can go up and down accordingly.
Okay, so how would you explain what he's saying? Because he says that it becomes absent, and you are saying it does not disappear, but it becomes less important. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, because I don't think it can just randomly, like, these are your basic needs. They can just randomly disappear, and you can just like completely ignore them.
Okay, so he uses the word prepotent. So how would you use this word when you are talking about, what you just said? So do you think that it's less important means that it is not a prepotent need anymore? It is needed, it's important, but it isn't prepotent.
Ma'am, can you repeat? It was cutting off.
You said that, can you repeat what you had said?
I was basically saying that how Master is saying that it becomes absent and the importance isn't there anymore. I feel like that's not entirely true because I think humans, because it's very I think like the situation changes from day to day. time, and sometimes those needs are met, sometimes those needs aren't met. So I think they just, if they are being met for a certain period of time, they're just not a priority anymore, but they're still equally important, because if we are deprived of these needs, then we're back to square one.
Okay, so my question was that they are important, but they are not prepotent needs, or you think that they are important because they are prepotent needs?
I think there are prepotent needs, because I personally think myself, I guess, that other needs are important, but they're not as equally. People can survive, not maybe like not a fulfilled life sort of, but they can still survive if just these basic needs are met.
Okay, so all right. I think in this while reading this section, we will try to analyze Saba's situation. So please be attentive to what we read earlier and to what is written here. It says Maslow's concept of belonging combines the twin urges to give and receive love, right? So do you think that Saba had the twin urge to give and receive love from to and from Gasser? Did she have the twin urge to give and receive love? Did Saba have the twin urge to give and receive love? It says giving love is different from the passion that any lyricist or a singer announces, right? Uh, I'm saying that Saba did have the twin urge that is emphasized in this part of love and belonging need. So we can say that Saba had the twin urge to give and love, to give and receive love. But after that, it says giving love is different from the passion that you hear in any song. For example, a song may say, "I want you, I need you, I'm going to have you," right? So here it says that this song, it sounds like, is talking about raw sex. It's not talking about anything better, you know. So it says that it sounds like instinctive again. And Maslow said instinctoid is more important than the instinct, because he said if we apply the theory to Saba, it probably implies that Saba is not doing what she is doing instinctively. She's not instinctively running after Kesser, because what is written here is actually saying that she has the twin urge for giving or having or receiving love, but it is not something that you can say that she's not running after it instinctively or to have raw sex. Because when we talk about human beings, we can also see that Maslow picked up human beings for the study. He did not pick up animals or guinea pigs for the study. So naturally, we can try saying that when he studies human beings to come up with a chart like this, he is probably looking at something that we like believing कि इंसानों को तो हम अशरफुल मखलूकात कहते हैं ना. So अशरफुल मखलूकात will not have sex instinctively like animals do, or what behaviorists said about guinea pigs having this fourth desire, the third desire for sex, and the fourth for avoidance of pain. For Maslow, giving love is seeking to fill a void by understanding and accepting selected others. So we can perhaps say that Saba wanted to fulfill this twin urge by accepting a very specific person, and this was Kasser in this case. So receiving love is a way of staving off the pangs of loneliness and rejection. Uh, for Sabah, it was important to have this relationship with Kasser, and in we can say that with Kasser she did not have this feeling of rejection, but actually she rejected her uncle's brother-in-law by refusing to have a relationship with the brother-in-law, or by replacing Kasser with the brother-in-law. The man who attains the level will feel keenly as never before the absence of friends and sweetheart or a wife or children. So it says that people who have this strong feeling, they cannot accept, or they are quite uncomfortable with the absence of the sweetheart. So perhaps we can imply that that when her family mentioned that she will be engaged to the brother-in-law, she started already feeling lonely, or she would feel that she started feeling, or feeling the threat of losing the sweetheart that is mentioned here. Even though it's a higher need in the hierarchy than physical or safety needs, it does say that it motivates a person when he starts feeling the deficit of this need. So it also says that love loses its pull when you have had enough. So desire for love becomes an unmet need, but here he also says that because he was studying these finest human beings, and most of these finest human beings appear to be, like some of them appear to be, or perhaps most of them appear to be Americans. I think he had mentioned names of even American presidents like Abraham Lincoln and Roosevelt. So we can see that he is saying that at a larger scale, most Americans had their physical or physiological and safety needs fulfilled. So because these two needs were fulfilled, so most Americans actually wanted to hold on to someone, or their lowest need was a need for love or belonging in many cases. He also says that this need may be absent in psychopaths, right? And even though it may be absent, it remains important for most people. About the esteem needs, he says that it is the result of competence or mastery of task, which means it's a need for achievement, and it desires recognition from others, respect from others. So esteem needs combines with the recognition and need for recognition and respect by others. It also, when you demand recognition, it means that you are demanding power that comes with recognition. In Sabah's case, we perhaps can imply that the father had achieved certain level of respect in society, and he demanded sustenance of that particular status in society, and that gave him certain power. And Sabah had actually disturbed everything. Probably she had disturbed everything because the father keeps on blaming कि इसने सब कुछ तबाह कर दिया है. He keeps on saying कि जी अगर आप दूध में एक जरा सा अगर गाय का पेशाब गिर जाए या कुछ हो जाए, he says that all of it gets destroyed. एक मन दूध तबाह हो जाएगा. That is what he says. So he is actually feeling, and the mother also blames Sabah. Both parents keep on blaming her कि इसने सब कुछ तबाह कर दिया है. That is what the father says, and the mother actually says similar things कि मुझे पता नहीं था that she would do this. अगर मैं तो माँ थी, अगर मुझे पता होता तो मैं उसको समझा लेती. So for parents, probably the esteem need, as you said, is very disturbed because of Sabah's actions, right? So I'm just saying that just try seeing how hierarchy of needs applies to any of these characters. So it just says that individual differences in needs are tied to personality type. Repeated shifts in motivation are possible, but people do need supporting environment, right? So here he is giving example of an immigrant or perhaps illegal immigrant who is in America at the time he was, he was writing in this. He was writing this article, so he just observed what was happening to Tony in real life, and here also we are talking about real life. We are not talking about a film or drama that shows honor killing, right? So we are talking about a real situation in Sabah's case, which is a very threatening and a harmful situation for an individual. And the example that that M. Griffin has quoted here is of a real life person, but the kind of threat is different. He says that Tony was raised in the inner city of Chicago. He is the 7th child in a Hispanic family of 12. So which means that the family is large in a country like America. If they have 12 members, you can see that their prepotent need would be perhaps physiological, how to feed these 12 people who are there in this large family. He says that Tony's family is there illegally, right? Illegally means that they cannot have a respectable job to earn enough to support these 12 people in their family. So his father is working a minimum wage job, right? And because they do not have a legal status in United States, they have this constant threat that they will be thrown out of the United States, okay? So their first problem is food. Their first problem is a need for health care. And America being a cold country, their next need is like having sufficient heating in their house. And when you have heating in your house, your electricity bill increases, okay? So which means that first they have to support for 12 children, and then they have to provide food to them, and they have to provide sufficient heat in the house to make sure that people do not die because of cold or become sick because of cold. So their first needs are all physiological, and it says that Tony has, because he's member of that family and he's aware of the family circumstances, so Tony knows that his prepotent need, like the whole family knows, is mostly physiological. So it says that the church provided them some support, and because local church started providing them some support, so Tony's first need or poverty was satisfied. As food, warmth, and medical attention silenced his body's chronic aches. Tony began to worry about the twin threat to the immigration service, right? So he had this threat earlier also. He knew that American government can deport them at any time, but his fear was not about deportation at that stage. They were more worried about providing food to the family members and to providing sufficient heat in the winter, right? So just so all needs were physiological, though this immigration or deportation threat was there all the time. um, if we after reading this, can you reanalyze Saba's situation in terms of physiological and safety needs? So what is her prepotent need, or how would you describe her needs after reading what we just read about Tony? Anyone? All it says that Tony's safety needs were there all the time because they were in US illegally. But his physiological needs were prepotent because they were 12 and they had to take care of heating in the house. So physiological needs were more important. If we look at Saba's situation in these scenes, we know that her father was taking care of the physiological needs earlier. Her father was responsible for her safety needs earlier, and the sense of belonging was there with the family. But Saba had different needs. She needed love and belonging, relationship with Kasser. And right now, we can see that her in-laws are actually taking care of her physiological needs, because she said that she was not residing with her mother-in-law when she first ran away from her house with Kasser. She said, हम किसी रिश्तेदारों के पास थे, इधर नहीं थे, but now we have come to our in-laws' home. So her prepotent need had changed because of what she had done. Her prepotent need was less physiological and more safety need when she ran away with Kasser. That is the reason she was hiding in their relative's house. And after residing with the relatives for some time, she shifted to her in-laws' house. So we can still see that the narrative of this film is constantly highlighting her safety needs. And for during the period this film was made or the case was in the court, her safety needs were perhaps most important or prepotent needs. Her prepotent need was safety, and it wasn't, for example, a need for love and belonging and physiological needs were less important than safety needs, which means that love and belonging would be moved down and safety need would be moved up, right? So in Saba's case, we can clearly see that after she ran away and after she was attacked to death, or after this honor killing attempt, her safety need was above her need for love and belonging, and this need had moved up in the hierarchy of Saba's needs. So I would say that physiological needs and love and belonging needs were below safety needs in Saba's case. You can certainly disagree, I think, or you can add something. to support the argument. But what I said is after looking at the situations that are there in the field. So do you agree that her safety needs were prepotent needs after what she had done? You can disagree if you like. It's perfectly fine. It would be it's important to have an argument which need was her prepotent need before and after this honor killing incident. G, any comments? Any comment about her individual status? I'm sorry, I can see there are 27 comments here, but it's difficult to see comments during the lecture. So I'm asking any comments on which one of her need is prepotent at this stage, which one was prepotent before she ran away, and which one is prepotent after she ran away with Kessler. No comment. Amna Iqbal.
Ma'am, her mic isn't working.
Okay. Let's. Is she here? I can't see that she's. I think she's not here right now. Her probably. She probably got disconnected. Anyone else on, any comment on what was her prepotent need before the incident and what is her prepotent need after the incident? Okay. All right. So just try understanding, and you can both agree or disagree with it. So here it says that under the Amnesty Act of 1986, the fear of deportation ended because under this Amnesty Act 1986, America decided that illegal immigrants will become legal, which means that this threat of being deported was removed under the Amnesty Act of 1986. And it means that Tony's pre-important need also changed. His need for money and food and warmth were satisfied when the local church started supporting them, and his need for safety were satisfied when they were given legal status under the Amnesty Act 1986. So Tony moves on to next prepotent needs, which is sense of belonging or love. So it says that Tony joined this wrestling club. Okay. Number one, first he became a member of he had relationship with friends, and his brothers and sisters were very important to him. As I said earlier, there were 12 family members. So he started feeling this pull of relationship, and he also had a girlfriend at this stage. So he was socializing with his wrestling buddies and a girl named Helen, right? So his all of his love and belonging needs were partially fulfilled. So he's talking more about what he wants to become in his life, right? He got financial aid for college, so it means that many of he's moving up and up on this ladder, right? On this diagram about the hierarchy of needs, because all of his needs are gradually being fulfilled. Okay, so by now he is ready to move up to the level of esteem. Okay, so he talks about like he is a man. His experience with a man who has been brought up in a comfortable, secure, loving environment, right? It would be very different if you are comparing his life with somebody whose life was well all the way through. Life was comfortable, secure, and loving environment was there all the time. So it would be difficult to compare his situation with anyone who had all the blessings. It just says that these people would probably take the blessings for granted, but Tony is somebody who cannot take all these blessings for granted, and he has gradually moved up this hierarchy of needs, and gratification of one step followed the other, right? So he had put up with hardship, danger, and loneliness in order to get a sense of worth. So by the time he moves up to the level of self-esteem, he has seen a lot, and he has suffered chronic deprivation, and gradually moved up all these things. About self-actualization, it only says it's the desire to become more and more one can become in one's life. For example, people may want to, become, they may have different desires, and which means that somebody would have a feeling of fulfillment or meaning of life, or meaning of beauty, if he achieves what he desires. So it does say that it is one's potential to become one's potential to reach his highest or her highest level, right? So people may persistently desire, and once their deficiency cravings are met, this self-actualization is about the greatest desire of a being. So the lowest four are deficiency needs. The top one is not a deficiency. It's the need for self-actualization, right? So all it says that people want to maximize their potential only after they have satisfied their basic deficiency needs. It says that like self-actualization can take many forms depending on the individual. These variations may include the quest for knowledge, understanding, peace, self-fulfillment, meaning of life, or beauty. So people like Roosevelt, or people like Abraham Lincoln or Einstein, they will not talk about their need for food, and they may, and people who have actually reached this level of self-actualization may feel very bad when they are passing certain heavy structures or big fast food restaurants, because they do not see any beauty in any of these buildings. So they will talk about something else, right? So all he says that people who are actually having self-actualization, they have gone past this level of discontent or restlessness that can be felt during these four stages, which are like way to the fulfillment of deficiency needs. So these people, because they have passed all these stages, they can actually talk about self-actualization. If you, at this point, he just introduces this concept of single most joyous moment of anybody's life. So he says that Maslow would say, do it just for the sake of being happy, right? This is something that Darwin will not say. This is something the behaviorist will not say, that do it for just for your happiness. He says that someone like Maslow can say this, or Maslow can talk about single most joyous moment in somebody's life, right? So someone would say, uh, someone would talk about a religious experience and would define religious experience as the single most joyous moment of his life, and somebody else will talk about a moment of sexual ecstasy, right? So he says that this moment of self-actualization or most joyous moment can vary from person to person, and someone else would say, oh, I really love this music and I enjoyed this music. So it is not only the potential to reach one's highest caliber, but it's also the potential to have this single most blissful moment in one's life. Okay, so he says that Maslow's vision of the highest human attainment is something that makes his theory different from the theories that were presented by the other people. And Maslow is somebody who would say, if it feels good, do it tradition. So Maslow, in the earlier one, in the first one, he talked about survival of the fittest. In the second one, he talked about like satisfying one need after the other, and then getting homeostasis. And in the third one, he's just saying, if it feels good, do it tradition. So it just says that Maslow is probably the originator of this tradition, that do it if it feels good. So in that sense, it is very different from any other researches that have come across so far. On this page, M. Griffin mentions Gerald Huizinga, a Dutch psychologist, and he says that he tried testing Maslow's theory on a number of managers, 600 managers from different industries, 5 different industries in Netherlands. So he actually conducted a survey of 600 managers, and after conducting the survey, he felt that that perhaps this chart or hierarchy of need does not exactly apply to the 600 managers that he had studied. So the age group of the managers was 20 to 65. Okay, so any idea why he feels that this pyramid of hierarchy of needs does not really apply to these people, these 600 managers of age group 20 to 65? Because if we are talking about someone who is of age group 20, we can probably say that he perhaps has, or she perhaps has not exactly reached this level of self-actualization. And in his sample, we are also looking at people of age group 65. So probably the people of age group 65 would already be at the level of self-esteem or self-actualization. Any idea why he feels that all of these people do not, the findings of this study do not show that this pyramid is absolutely correct? Why would that happen? Because he's trying to test Maslow's theory. So all I'm saying that Gerald Huizinga feels that the findings of his study do not show that these are exactly the hierarchy of individual needs. No comments?
Ma'am, पता नहीं मैं if I'm right, but you can correct me always. मुझे लगता है कि ये भी तो है ना कि इंसान ये अपनी एज से ज़्यादा या फिर अपनी एज से हटके भी कुछ लोग होते हैं, कुछ लोग जल्दी मैच्योर हो जाते हैं। ये जो पिरामिड है इसके अंदर हम डिफरेंट स्टेजेस पे किसी भी एज पे जा सकते हैं। जैसे हम कहते हैं कि some people don't
कोमल, आपका सिग्नल शुरू में सही आ रहा था, बट आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ अ सडन आपकी वॉइस थोड़ी सी वीक हो गई। ओके, कैन यू रिपीट yourself, or maybe you can also try texting what exactly you are saying. So I think try repeating. Okay. All right. Can you repeat what you just said, or you can repeat it at any time? Okay. So.
Then are you asking me?
Gigi, I was asking. I could not hear you properly, so I asked you to repeat.
जी, I just got a call. I'm very sorry. I was just saying कि ये जो पिरामिड है इसके डिफरेंट स्टेजेस पे कोई भी इंसान पहुंच सकता है। जैसे हम बोलते ग्रो नहीं करते जल्दी, या फिर कुछ लोग एसेक्सुअल्स होते हैं। तो इस तरीके के जो है फैक्टर्स भी तो इंक्लूडेड हो सकते हैं। एजुकेशन का भी तो फैक्टर है। जिस इंसान को पता ही नहीं है कि सेफ्टी क्या है तो वो क्यों चाहेगा उस स्टेज के ऊपर। मुझे ये बस लगा।
Okay. I think I felt that he was conducting this study in Netherlands, and I felt that Netherlands is different from Pakistan or India. Probably Netherlands would have different welfare programs for their people, and he's not studying people who are deprived in any manner. He is studying managers, which means these people have jobs, right? So if people have jobs, how would he probably find the deficiency in their physiological needs, right? So if he's studying managers of age group 20 to 65, I would assume that these managers were getting salary, for example, and if they were getting, if they had income, it implies that some of their needs were already satisfied. And when he says managers, I somehow feel that he is not studying people who may be lying on streets somewhere in Netherlands, right? Even in London, or in New York, you would find a man or a woman sitting on a sheet at the railway station, or just a beggar sitting anywhere, and people would throw coins while crossing him. So somehow I felt that his sample includes managers, so he is probably not he's not studying people who had deficiency of physiological needs, right? So I somehow felt that his study did not show this kind of pyramid, because his sample was probably not right for this kind of pyramid. And if he was studying people who were living in the different kind of conditions, he probably will find better results. So I'm not sure of it, because they have not provided many details of the sample. All it says that they were managers of age group 20 to 65, and they were working in industrial uh, in the industry. So that's why I felt that he is probably not studying people of different types, people who live in different living conditions. He does say that the author of this study, Gerald Huizinga, though he did not, though he could not uh, though he did not find that Maslow's pyramid was absolutely correct, but he still believed that Maslow is right. And he said that you cannot study everything in a laboratory, and you cannot study everything through survey. So when his own results did not match, this did not match with this pyramid, he did say that he feels that everything cannot be proved through laboratory experiment, or through an experiment in the laboratory, or through a survey. So he says that you can use your observation skills, for example, and your observation would perhaps tell you that Maslow is right. So I'm saying that I had this feeling that he did not have the right kind of sample, and because he did not have the right sample, he would come up with this kind of explanation that there are certain things that you learn through your observation and not necessarily through an experiment in the lab or a survey. He had conducted a survey, he had not conducted an experiment. So he does say that a true test of prepotency can be made in a longitudinal study. So if he was studying these people for perhaps 15 or 20 years, he thinks that perhaps the result will change or results will improve. Here in the end, M. Griffin does say that then how do people who are very, very religious, how do they look at this pyramid of hierarchy of needs? He says that people who are very religious, they would probably say, what if I don't have good meals now or sufficient meals now? I will get everything when I go to heaven, right? So he does feel that people who are very religious will look at physiological needs through the lens of religion, and they would have a tendency of saying that they will have everything when they go to heaven. And these people will want to protect themselves from the hardships, or from hell, right? Terrors of hell. So he says that these people, believers would say that believers have a vision of heaven as a large banquet table that satisfies their physiological needs or physical needs. And believers on the safety level of the hierarchy are predisposed to favor pastors who preach about eternal security from the terrors of hell. So they will talk about eternal security because if they have a vision of heaven as a large banquet table, then their next need would be saving themselves from the terrors of hell. And after that, they would say God is love, right? So they would have this sense of belonging with the God. And when they further move up to the self-esteem level, they will talk about more and more engagement in purposes of God, right? And when they move up to the level of self-actualization, they will actually be talking about meditation and other things. So for very religious people, meditation would be a level that would be about self-actualization, and esteem would be a level where they would be talking about doing things for the purposes of God, right? And if we look at poetry and literature and various other forms of art, we would see that we keep coming across ishke majazi and ishke hakiki. So I somehow felt that at this point, the author, like M. Griffin or Maslow, is probably indirectly pointing to all these different religious beliefs that people hold in their lives. Okay, this is just a feeling that, but if you like, you can disagree or agree with what I have just said. So he mentions a few other things that he just in this last part is saying that Maslow is too optimistic. Maslow does not believe in destruction ability of human beings. Maslow believes that if deficiency needs of people are met, then they look out for, people are more interested in self-fulfillment. People are more interested in reaching their highest potential as good human beings, right? So, because he believed that people are generally trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, and courteous. They are kind, and so forth. So he believes in good human tendencies because his sample included the best or the finest of men, and he felt that they could be unselfish once their all other needs were met. So I do want in the end that after having read all these things, try creating link among different things about the 5 stages or five needs that Maslow is talking about, and if you think that Sabah moved a stage up by the end of the film, did she ever went beyond love and belonging need? Did she reach the level of self-esteem, or did she start recognizing that there was a next level by the end of the film? Do you see anything in her behavior, any change in her behavior? Yes, no, is it too complicated, too confusing? Her father is continuously talking about her physiological needs. Her father does not think that she has a need for love or belonging. So patriarchy probably patriarchy probably focuses on physiological needs of women, and he continuously quotes Quran, he continuously quotes religion and culture. So culture probably doesn't want to see women or Sabah moving up this ladder.
Mammy also says this when they're interviewing him behind bars, he says फिजियोलॉजिकल नीड्स के बारे में जब बात होती है तो जब वो कहता है कि अगर मैं पूरी ज़िंदगी जेल में रहूँगा तो my family will be provided for because Allah is there. He then again brings religion into fulfilling the physiological needs of women. Like he says, they will get food somehow because God will be there for them. They will be provided for. Because if he's not there, they have no other way of earning or providing themselves with food. So वो कहता है कि Allah is there for them. So he again brings religion.
Yes, I think it's very interesting that he is bringing in religion, and he believes probably in this what was mentioned here in the last section, that how religious people explain, religious people explain how they are fulfilling their needs. And I think another interesting point was when the lawyer said that he is the only provider of the family, so he's the only one who is supporting the family. So the lawyer also said that perhaps it is justified to release this man because he is responsible for taking care of physiological needs of so many other people who are his dependent. Uh, yes, I think you are absolutely right. Was that Ikra?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, any other thing, any other comment from the film that matches any of the texts of this paper? Um, is her
Ma'am, I have to say something.
Gigi Amna?
So, the thing is that every time they quote religion and there is no authenticity in that, there is nothing nothing present in Quran that says that okay, go kill your girl if she marries out of your choice or something like that. They don't even, honestly, what I have seen in the surveys, and there are many other cases, and they haven't read religion. They haven't been taught in a proper way what actually religion says. Now he says that she's getting bread and butter, so she should be happy. She's being provided, so she should be fine with it. So, religion, matlab, Islam कहता है बेटी घर से बाहर नहीं निकले. But where is it? And the court, the law, why aren't these arguments presented in the court? When the lawyers are talking about it, why don't they provide the proper material coming from Quran? I mean, it's a holy book. Why can't you put it in front of the judge when it comes? और मतलब उसका पूरा argument इस चीज पे base होता है अगर कि हम मुसलमान हैं और हमारी बेटियां यूं नहीं करती, अगर वो यूं करेंगी तो हम उनको मार देंगे. And then this entire thing, where does it come from? मतलब इस तरह कुछ भी कह दें religion का नाम लेकर, and it is listened to. The woman is saying कि आपने उसको religion तो नहीं कहता कि कत्ल कर दो, तो वो आगे से कह रहा है कि नहीं, वो इस्लाम में तो है, बाहर निकलेगी तो मतलब मैं तो नहीं छोड़ूंगा उसको, and मुझे कोई मसला नहीं है. And the thing is that now this class is a lower class. The problem is it's not just the lower class who is doing this. It comes in every class. They will put religion in front of you and they'll do it. Even if they're from middle class, they're upper middle class, maybe there are a few cases in the elite, but I think the middle class is even full of it. They do it. And there have been cases, the similar cases. I was not able to talk about it in the beginning, and because I heard about one particular case that was in fact very close to my family. They killed their daughter, and the way they killed her, they axed her down. They took her to, they did the same thing. The guy married her, he took her to his family, they accepted her, the guy's family accepted the girl. But then the girl's father and uncles went there. They said that we want to do a proper ruksati because we have a khandan, and we have to tell them that we are we were the one who agreed to marry her with you, so we don't want this hassle, we don't want to हमें शर्मिंदगी होगी कि मतलब भाग के शादी कैसे कर सकती है ये वो, तो तुम हमें हमारे साथ भेज दो, and we will give you a date, you come and you take her. They took her and they kept threatening her that you should take a divorce. And she said, no, I won't take a divorce. Why would I do that? I won't do that. So they said, no, you'll take the divorce or we'll kill you. So she was like, of course she did not first believe that they would kill kill her, and she is someone very close to my family. And then what happened, that we were hearing about things, but we did not know what was happening. And then one day we heard that the girl is dead. And how did she die? They took her to a graveyard, and this is the in Lahore. This is in Garden Town, and this is someone is speaking or something.
Yes, yes, we are all listening. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a
Garden
very
Town, which is an elite area. There are rich and rich people living there, and there is like educated class who lives there. उस तरह से कहा जाता है. And there they took her, they killed her, and the case was opened. The guy took it to the court and everything, and the father said the same thing. The brother said that I did it, and I hit her with the axe 11 times. He said it in the court. I did it, and I did it 11 times. And yeah, she's dead, and I'm proud of it because
and
I kept it.
did the court free him, or did someone in the family forgive him?
No,
Uh,
no. The family was supporting him. His father said that no, I am taking the charge. He said it in the emotions, and I am the one who did it because his father, किया भाई नहीं था. uh, Father was with him, Taya was with him, other uncles were with him, and everyone was there. And what he said that I did it and I'm taking charge of it, the father said. And at the end now, the lawyers have, built the case around the fact that, okay, it was the father. So he's in jail, others are out, and
and
others
how
stayed in
how long ago was that?
a month.
A month or so. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the dates are very important because from Sabah Kaisar's case to Kandil Bloch's case, the
Yeah.
laws were changed very, very quickly because you can see that this is a film from, I believe, does it have a
Yeah.
date here? Perhaps 2014, 15. It won Oscar, I think, in 2015, so the film would be from 2014, I'm guessing. So it's not an old film, and we can clearly see that laws did change from Sabah's times to Kandil's murder trial, right? Because I think there was sufficient international pressure, and the film won Oscar because of its technique. She's using cinema verite technique because what she's doing, this is known as like fly on the wall sort of thing, which means that you are often not aware of the camera or of a fly on the wall, right? And the camera captures directly whatever you are saying or whatever you are doing. So this is a verite style documentary because she's directly recording what people are saying. She's not dictating anything to anyone. So Sabah said what she wanted to say, and her father said what he wanted to say, and film is very clearly and very neatly presenting argument of the victim and argument of the culprits, right? So she is offering both the point of views very, very honestly. Though within that honesty, you notice brutality of the father, right? He is very brutal. He is, and you can also see patriarchy very, very clearly. And people do say things that point to patriarchy and to social pressure. And Sabah herself admits, मैं इनको कभी माफ ना करती, मुझे इनको social pressure की वजह से माफ करना पड़ा. And I think I mentioned it before that Bushra Khalik is the head of an NGO that was working with Sabah Kaisar. She was trying that Sabah be sent abroad. She should get political asylum in the West because she believed that her family will definitely try to murder her again. and it's very uh, sad. In fact, quite it raises a big concern that all of these families, the Sabas family also said she will be fine, we'll send her again. And the girl that you have mentioned from Garden Town, apparently her family said the same thing. They used they used family emotion to get hold of the girl and to bring her back. And in both cases, it is the same story, that the family brought her back, and Saba's family attempted to kill her, and the girl from Garden Town was definitely killed. But family was trying to tell her uh, to get divorce from this guy. And I think it's very visible what families can do, and they do believe. And I think that this family from Garden Town had probably not moved above this level of self-esteem, right? I don't this level of esteem. I think this is all. This was the limitation of many members of the family.
And
Uh,
ma'am, honestly, this family, they're part of our family, and they are the educated ones. They have their other daughters studying in BNU, one of them, and one of them is ACCA, and one of them is like these are the cousins I'm talking about of that girl. She was the only sister, and there are three brothers she has. So there are these girls who are, and she was she did not have a mother. Her mother died, and she had a stepmother, and even she was the one who was saying that ऐसा ही होगा, मतलब अगर बेटियों ने दुख, उसने हमारे साथ क्या किया ये नहीं नजर आ रहा, उसने हमारे साथ कितना बुरा किया, क्योंकि उसने अपनी मर्जी से शादी कर ली, हम
Ah,
हमारी
so
मर्जी।
so, so even in Saba's case, the father thinks कि वो जेल सबा की वजह से है, right?
हाँ,
And
वो कि
yes,
उसने हमारे बेटों को कितनी ट्रबल में देखो डाल दिया, उसकी वजह से आज हम ये सब कुछ भुगत रहे हैं। तो व्हाई डिड यू किल हर? ना मारते, अलग कर देते, मिलते ही नहीं, मतलब कितने ऑप्शंस थे। My own family was sitting, we all were in a shock, and the saddest part is that most of the people in my family were saying that अच्छा किया, ऐसा ही होता है, उसने भी तो गलत किया। जो चलो ये नहीं कह रहा था कि मतलब ये नहीं कह रहा था कि मारना नहीं चाहिए था, वो ये कहता कि चलो गोली मार देते, मतलब कुल्हाड़ी के साथ ही मारा यार, इस तरह ना मारते, ये तो मतलब बिल्कुल। And this was what it was, because if it's in family, so you keep on hearing it again and again. Every gathering, there's the same talk. So I was listening to this talk for like a long time, and then today when this video started, and then all of the, it was like I couldn't, honestly, I couldn't think of this as a separate case. I just kept on wishing that I wish that she had a broken arm or a broken limb, anything, but I wish that she survived too somehow. But she didn't. They
okay.
and the,
So
yeah.
if you look at this chart, what happened to the love and belonging of the three brothers, right? The brothers and the brothers who killed their sister definitely, had this relationship with their sister at some point in time. I had this feeling that the father probably never crossed this level of self-esteem. He probably never, he had not experienced self-actualization, because self-actualization is combined with selflessness uh, in this discussion, right? Where somebody is less interested in his personal interest and more interested in the interest of the other. So I was just trying to see that if the girl's father was below this level, and the sister and the brothers even lost this sense of love or belonging with the sister when he axed her down and terribly hurting her safety needs, right?
Yes, I think that
Ji.
that is absolutely right.
Okay. Any other comment by any other person? Any other comment in relationship of a particular scene to any of the things that is mentioned in the paper? Uh, right. I did.
मैम
जी कोमल.
मैं बस जनरली एक क्वेश्चन मेरे दिमाग में भी आमना की बात सुनते हुए आ रहा था, जो मैंने सोचा कि मे बी यू कैन आंसर और ट्राई टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन कि डोंट यू थिंक ए वुमेन ऑफ आवर सोसाइटी लाइक यू, लाइक मी, लाइक आमना, हम पढ़ तो रहे हैं, हम ग्रो भी कर रहे हैं, हम सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, हमें पता है पेट्रियार्की क्या है, इसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या होते हैं, कितना डेंजरस है, वी नो एवरीथिंग, लेकिन जब बात प्रैक्टिकल होने पर आती है तो हम कुछ नहीं कर पाते. जैसे आमना बात कर रही है इतने पर्सनल अकाउंट की, तो वो शी एबल टू डू समथिंग, या फिर जब उसके जो ब्रदर्स है या फिर जिसकी भी वो बात कर रही है, जब वो कह रहे थे कि गोली मार देते, एक्स क्यों यूज कर रहे थे, तो शी कुडंट स्पीक इन फ्रंट ऑफ देम, और इफ शी हैड तो उससे कोई फायदा नहीं होता. तो मैं सिर्फ एक जनरली सवाल मेरे जहन में आ
You
रहा
know
था.
what happened? I'm sorry, I did. And you know what happened? I was scolded by my mother. I was scolded by my own mother to, not say anything because it's a very sensitive matter. The girl ran
मैं
off
बात
with the
नहीं कर
guy.
सकती.
And if you
मैं
support the
मेरी
girl, they'll think that this is something right in your eyes to run off with a guy. So you belong to the same family and you need to stay quiet. And then after 2 days, I heard my brother complaining about it with my mother कि मैं जब बात
ये
कर
सब
रहा
बोली.
था तो ये क्यों बोल रही थी कि ये ठीक है, इसकी नजरों में ये ठीक है कि वो भाग गई. मैंने कहा मेरी नजरों में ये गलत है कि उसको कत्ल कर दिया गया. He said no, क्यों किया, वजह यही थी ना, तो मतलब तुम इन सम वे तुम कह रही हो कि किसी लड़के के साथ भाग जाओ. And I was like wow. So yeah.
तो मैं भी यही बोल रही हूँ कि मैं भी खुद भी बात नहीं कर सकती हूँ, मैं अपने घर में ये बात नहीं कर सकती इस पे, तो मैं तो चलो बोल दिया, मैं नहीं कर सकती. तो मैं सिर्फ ये मैम से पूछना चाह रही थी, आपने कोई भी जवाब अगर दे कि क्या इशू किधर आता है, हमारी एजुकेशन भी तो हम पढ़ भी रहे हैं, फिर प्रॉब्लम किधर है, बदलाव क्यों नहीं आता, चेंज क्यों नहीं आता, सब कुछ तो कर लिया हमने.
चेंज क्यों नहीं आता? I think change क्यों नहीं आता was very visible in the film because we did see that Sabha actually filed an FIR. She dragged them in the court and she said that she wanted justice for herself. But it did not happen in her case because community pressurized her in-laws, and especially her brother-in-law. And she kept on saying, he is the elder of the family and me and my husband will do what he will tell us, right? And Sharmeen did interview the brother-in-law and he said, हमें यहीं पे रहना है, हमें उनसे काम पड़ सकता है, उन्हें हमसे काम पड़ सकता है. So he is more worried about some social reciprocation, and he is more worried about like social pressure. And he tells her to forgive them because it was only Sabah who could forgive. Nobody could forgive on her behalf, like her husband or brother-in-law could not forgive the culprits on her behalf. And then when the court has released them, or when she has forgiven them, can you call them culprit? Because वो तो बाइज्जत बरी हो गए ना. so you can say that जिसको जो बाइज्जत बरी हो गया उसको तो आप कल्प्रिट नहीं कह सकते, बिकॉज कल्चर जो है उसको फ्रॉम हीर रांझा का जो कैदू है टू सबा कैसर, जो 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 कल्प्रिट है उसको हम कहते हैं गैरत का सिंबल. So Kadu is symbol of Gairat. So is Saba's father symbol of Gairat, which means that these symbols of Gairat actually become heroes in the eyes of the community. So if that doesn't change, so the situation will not change. So that's why I said that Kandil Baloch's murder is very important in that regard, because state took ultimate responsibility, and state became the plaintiff. In many countries the law says that when once you are born, though you live with your family, you are responsibility of the state, and state take care of your interest. For example, if somebody lives in America and is pregnant, she has a right to refuse an HIV test, for example, because being an adult, she is in charge of her decisions. But the minute the child is born, HIV test is conducted on the child, because state is responsible for the safety of the child until child becomes responsible for himself. So that's why I'm saying, so eventually we can see that in Kandil Bloch's case, state became the plaintiff, and her murderer had to face proper trial, and Kandil Bloch's mother could not forgive her son, right? And I think the same situation applies to the family that Amna Wahid was talking about, because presently the laws have changed since last 4 or 5 years. So we can see that the situation is changing, and perhaps the rights of the victim are being considered right now. I wonder if it has a relationship with the culture that has always been there in this part of the world, because females were buried alive at the time of birth, when Islam first was introduced in this part of the world. So from perhaps over 2000 years, the situation has not changed much, because killing of the woman or the female continues in one form or the other. People do not bury their newborn daughters anymore, but people still kill their daughters or sisters in the name of honor. So that's why I'm saying that, Saba's father is a symbol of honor, and he claims that role by the end of the film, because he says that people are proposing his younger daughters, they respect her. So you can see that Saba's father's self-esteem is, it is great. He is displaying it with a lot of pride, that he achieved a lot of respect by attempting to kill his daughter. So his sense of achievement is in maintaining his honor, even if that was by attempting to kill his daughter. So he's gaining respect of others, respect by others, by attempting to kill his daughter. So that's why I'm saying that his self-esteem or ego you can see that it is very well developed, and he's walking freely in the fields in Gujranwala, and talking about this incident, because he knows he has been freed with all the respect. By Izzat Bari Hua. So it will perhaps be inappropriate to call him culprit, because the law has freed him respectfully. He would probably be culprit in the eyes of the rest of the world, but Pakistani law freed him. So if it freed him, he cannot be considered culprit. Kandil Bloch's brother will remain a culprit because the law made a different decision for him, and there is always a signature on the decision. So one signature frees a person with respect, and another signature jails a person, calling him a culprit.
Ma'am, what I find a little problematic with Sharmeen is that the thing is that, okay, fine, she is coming here and she is covering the stories, these stories that are painful and chaotic, and there are characters, real life characters like Sabah. But who are these documentaries and these films made for? She makes them here and then she takes them there, and then these are screened and she wins brilliant awards and she is just, praised for all of it. But are we watching these films as local people of Pakistan? Is the lower class watching these films? Are these things ridiculed in front of these people? No, they commit the crime, और उनके साथ वालों को ये दिखाया भी नहीं जा रहा है कि ये तुम लोग के क्लास में हो रहा है और ये ठीक नहीं है, ये दुनिया एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रही इस चीज को, जिस तरह की वो उनसे सवाल पूछ रही है, जिस तरीके से इस चीज के अंदर I'm not saying that, winning an award is wrong, or, screening the film is wrong and, internationally, because हमारे अपने सिनेमा में कई चीजों को नहीं करते हैं, तो they have to go abroad to, showcase their work. बुक्स होती हैं, यहाँ पे पब्लिशर्स नहीं मिलते तो बाहर पब्लिश करनी पड़ती है, सब कुछ होता है. But the thing is, don't you believe you work in this field and you've studied things? I'm asking for your opinion on this too. Don't you think that Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, when she finds these stories, when she finds these people, don't you think that she has a sense of she should have a sense of responsibility too? That what is she really going to do with this work? I mean, not. I don't. Okay, it's fine if she's, winning an Academy Award for it. I'm okay with that. But what about the Pakistani cinema? Why aren't you showing this film in the Pakistani cinema? Why isn't Sabah a character that we all know first? There are plenty of cinemas in Lahore, and I'm sure that if she wants to do it, she can. Because हमारे cinema houses में they only want the work that can, bring them the money. तो वो इंडियन फिल्म्स लगा रहे होते हैं, स्टूपिड फिल्म्स भी लगा देते हैं, ठीक है, और सारा कुछ हो रहा होता है. If there's one film like this being screened, I don't think that people, and then our millennials and our generation, they all like Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, and they all, praise her, कि, oh, look how amazing her work is. Don't you think that if the film is being screened here, if the film is being, aired on TV or something like that, don't you think that she'll earn enough money, or what is the purpose? What is
Right.
she actually doing with this?
Well, it's a documentary film, and Pakistani cinemas, the only documentary film that I can recall having seen in a cinema was Nawaz Sharif's election campaign film, right? So when Nawaz Sharif was chief minister, I remember that Muslim League's documentary was actually shown in every cinema of Lahore, at least before the film screening started. So when all audience was sitting there, they used to show this about this documentary film about his, it was for his election campaign, and its duration was about 15-20 minutes. So people watched that film for 15-20 minutes before every film. Cinemas normally do not show documentary films because if a cinema has a show, it means that air conditioning will be on, and people are sitting there and they have paid for a commercial film. They have actually not paid for watching a documentary film, right? So I'm saying that Nawaz Sharif's documentary film was actually forced onto people when he was in power. So that was very long ago, And I said that I remember watching that documentary film while sitting in the cinema. I also remember that I was quite bored while watching uh, the election campaign film, right? So I would say that most audience was perhaps not interested in watching that film, but being in power, they had imposed it on them. Now, cinema houses do not show this kind of thing, and this is only a 37 or 38-minute long film. Perhaps a TV channel would be more suitable for screening this kind of film, and I think that if Sharmeen wants to screen this film in cinema, she will perhaps have to reproduce it in a different manner. And then we'll have to see, because industries across the world do make films on different sort of themes, and any film can be successful, but Pakistani film industry is more that uses song and dance formula kind of content for screening in the cinemas. So I think one thing that Sharmeen could have done was, allow one of the local channels, or to have a contract with the local channel to screen this film every now and then, right? This film actually shows HBO. Now it is probably property of HBO. So I think she probably received good money for the film from HBO, or she has a contract with HBO. Pakistani TV channels, including Pakistan Television, have this. I gave a documentary film to Pakistan Television. Uh, there were two options: either I pay to them for screening my content, because if dramas are shown on time, they get sponsorship time, they get money back through advertising. But when I asked Pakistan Television, PTV, to show my documentary on PTV network, they said they can stream it or air it without any charges, but after Kashmir file, which means after the 9:30, after the 9 o'clock news, they have Kashmir file, and they said they will screen my documentary right after that. And they were very clear that they will not pay me for the documentary, because I will not. They were also sure that they will not get any sponsorship for the documentary film. Okay, so end of the day, the industry or businesses are not, I wouldn't say that they are businesses and they should make money. I would say they need money for running a business or for running a channel. And it is very difficult to continue running a channel or continue running a cinema hall if money is not returned in some form, right? So government perhaps will not have a cinema that is non-commercial, because people will not go there to watch the film. So that's the problem. But I think the situation is changing, because we are living in a digital age, and I would say that it's important to make these films, and it's important to discuss this film. That's why I'm discussing this film with you. And many documentaries are often discussed in university classrooms. So lots of funding was going into documentary films that were discussed in university classrooms or at different panels. So you can say that because we are living in a digital age, so more or more people are directly producing content and uploading content on social media and in some other form. So I think that awareness is definitely increasing because of all these things. All right, thank you for today's session. I think we ran a bit over time because we were screening film at the start. Just try seeing what is the next topic in Google and in Google Classroom, and I wonder if that is femme fatale. Try reading some parts of it, if not all of it. Okay. All right. Thank you.